Hello, friend. In today's offering, I feel it would be valuable to discuss an idea, maybe a way to measure whether or not we could even benefit from a lot of the things I've discussed already and will continue to discuss. I do understand that a person's mind tends to make them think that they're not the ones that need the growth, or maybe not the ones that can benefit from the growth, and they're not the ones that are maybe dealing with things and have room to grow. All right, so I know in our world we tend to, if we have a problem, we go see the doctor, and the doctor will oftentimes give us medication, even natural. Even if you are a natural health type of person, you go still see the doctor and they'll give you a form of, medication, whether it might be a herb though, but they give you something to alleviate, sometimes to correct the root cause, sometimes just to make the symptoms more tolerable. But we are so clever that oftentimes we find ways to self-medicate, meaning we don't take a prescription drug or a herbal supplement necessarily, but we find ways to distract us from the emotions that we are suppressing and either unwilling to process or just failing to process at that moment. What does self-medication look like? What are some things that we can be using to distract ourselves with from our emotional uncomfortabilities? It could be playing on your phone all day. It could be hanging out on social media all day. It could be watching TV. It could be smoking cigarettes. It could be drinking carbonated beverages. It could be smoking cannabis. It could be drinking alcohol. All of these things, what they are doing is they're taking our mental state into a different avenue, having it focus on something else temporarily, or even numbing us temporarily, so that we don't have to consider this uncomfortability in us at that moment. Drinking coffee would be another one. I can't recall if I mentioned it there. Drinking coffee, another. You know how somebody might, if they don't get their morning coffee, the theory is, or the understanding is, if you don't get your morning coffee, you tend to get a little bit irritable. It's not necessarily that the coffee is making you irritable. It's that the coffee isn't there to numb and suppress and self-medicate the irritability that's underlying. And so are all these other things. They're numbing us so that we don't see this underlying emotional uncomfortability and disturbance. So how would you be if you didn't have a phone to distract you, a TV to distract you, coffee and pop to distract you, cigarettes to distract you, cannabis to distract you, alcohol to distract you, and so on and so forth? How much peace would you be experiencing? Because your natural state is a state of peace. So if you're not experiencing a natural state of peace when all of those distractions are removed, it's showing you what you have failed to process in this moment, and what needs to be processed, and what's trying to get your attention. You see, these emotions aren't what would be the word? These emotions have characteristics to them to grab our attention. They're uncomfortable. They're tight. Sometimes they're painful. And if we stop numbing and distracting ourselves, we can see much more clearly, oh, I've got a definite irritability going on, a definite anger, a definite worry, a definite grief. You might not have all of those, but you'll have some more pronounced than the other. And if you don't numb it, it's presenting itself to your awareness to say, here I am, heal me. This needs your attention. This needs your focus. This needs your mindfulness. Look at your emotions almost as though an engine light on your car. And when you have these emotions, or the engine light goes off, you don't just pull the cord to the engine light alert, right? So you stop getting that signal. And that's essentially, when we're self-medicating, that's essentially what we're doing, is we're saying, no more alerts, no more alerts. Yet the root cause is still there, still underlying, and still continuing to influence our mind, our physiology, in essence, our karma, as well as the filter, meaning all of these new experiences that are coming towards us, the pure experiences, are being filtered through this wall of suppressed emotions, so we can't recognize something purely for what it is any longer. We're giving it all of this baggage that we are holding on to. We're projecting that onto this other thing that would be pure otherwise, and now we're interpreting it through all of that baggage. As you begin to process these things, the filters reintegrate into harmony, and you no longer would be misperceiving something because of what you hadn't healed previously. This isn't to say that if you have suppressed emotions, which you likely do, which mostly everybody does unless they're taught to and actively practice processing them, it doesn't necessarily mean to give up all of the self-medicating habits that we have learned to use, because there are circumstances where we are really depending on those forms of self-medication and distraction because we don't know how to process these things, and it's the only thing that can keep us comfortable. It's a survival mechanism in a respect. So the idea is to begin practicing and applying different tools that will help you to process those suppressed emotions. And what many people with addictions find is their craving for cigarettes goes away. Their craving for alcohol goes away. Their craving for coffee goes away. And those were all just symptoms. All of those seeming addictions were all just symptoms, because the root cause was this emotion that we were trying to numb. Once we process the emotion, there's no more desire to numb it. Once you fill your car up with gas, There's no more desire for that car to have gas. The gas light goes out. It's been satiated. It's been corrected. So as you correct these things within yourself, your external expression changes. Please be light and loving to yourself if you are recognizing that, yes, you do self-medicate. There's no value in feeling guilt or shame. Just understand that you can make this shift by applying tools and applications to process emotions. It's a very beautiful thing. We are in control of our own experience in that manner. Unfortunately, for some, they might find that it takes too much work, but the only alternative is more suffering. So you either do the work, or you might understand that you're not unraveling any of these energetic vibrations and emotions that are binding you and stagnating you internally. How could you progress? How could you experience the peace that's only experienced once you get out of that? You can get out of it in the mind in this moment in a practice such as meditation, which would be part of processing emotions, by the way. Once you go into a state of meditation, or once you learn to get into a state of meditation, you are basically surrendering the mind's perceptions, all of the mind's perceptions that arise. And in essence, you are pulling the plug to all of those emotions, because those emotions are only energized by more thoughts about the same thing. If you have a fear of spiders and you stop thinking about having that fear of spiders, you're pulling the plug and you'll lose that fear of spiders. You're not contributing to it anymore. All of these emotions that are suppressed within us are so large because we've had that thought continually, and we keep on adding more fuel to it and more fuel to it and more fuel to it without ever opening the valve and allowing it to release. All right, so hopefully this has given you a little bit of inspiration and insight to see that basically we all do, unless we're actively practicing surrender or other forms of processing emotions, we're very likely to have emotions in us that we're likely self-medicating as well. Feel free to research, if you're inspired, how to process emotions. I will be teaching practices, as well as I offer them in my guidance sessions, how to do this. But I don't want to be your limitation. If you're inspired to do that right in this moment, there is so much empowering information that will get you going in the right direction. If you research it. How to process emotions. All right, you can look into feeling meditations, you can look into surrender meditations, you can look into breath work. All right. I love you, my friend. You are awesome. I hope you understand how awesome you are. I hope you have an awesome day. Goodbye.